Today we are here with Misha, a survivor of Warsaw Ghetto in Poland.
Hi, hello Misha. My name is John. How are you this morning?
Hi John, I'm doing fine this morning. How about you?
I'm doing fine too. Now I was told you lived in Warsaw, in the Warsaw Ghetto during the Holocaust. Is this correct?
Yes, I was taken there when I was about 8 years old.
Do you have any brothers or sisters?
I don't remember my real parents or family, but I remember one day before we were taken to the ghetto. It's the first time I'm telling anybody this, but I was near a house and I was getting tomatoes from a garden when this little girl my age was staring at me. I didn't think anything of it at the time, but one day when I was near her house, a girl named Janina invited me to her birthday party. I didn't know any better at the time, so when they lit the candles, I thought they were going to burn the cake. So I picked it up and ran away with it. Every day after that, I would leave things at her doorstep for her, and she would leave things for me until one day she stopped. So I knocked on her door. A jackboot opened the door and told me to go away, so I left.
What's a jackboot?
It was the soldiers that kept the Jews in the ghetto.
You mean a Nazi?
Yeah, that's what they're called.
Keep talking about the story of the little girl named Janina.
One day there was a parade of jackboots, or Nazis. They were forcing the Jews to go somewhere, pointing guns at them and shouting orders. I saw Janina and her family, and I went up to talk to them. I followed them into the ghetto. I lived in the ghetto with them. In the walls of the ghetto there was a small hole in the wall. So I would smuggle food from the outside and bring it to Janina and her family. I would also give some of the food to the orphans. Eventually Janina started coming with me to smuggle. One day she called me her older brother and I became her brother.
Where is your family now?
Mrs. Milgram died in the ghetto. Mr. Milgram and Janina went on the train to the ovens.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. What happened before you met Janina and her family?
All I did was steal from people. I ran fast. One day I ran into a red-haired boy named Yuri. He took the piece of bread I stole and split it in half. He took me at an abandoned barn where I met a few other Jewish orphans, Enos, Oleg, and Kuba. Yuri took care of me. He was like an older brother to me. We would sometimes go on pickle runs together. Yuri loved pickles.
Did they stay around after you met Janina?
All of them but Yuri went to the ghetto with us. Yuri outsmarted the Nazi, and he pretended to assist the Nazi. The rest of the boys either died at the concentration camps or were killed for smuggling. He was at the train tracks when a Nazi was about to shoot me. Yuri shot me in the ear and then dragged me into a ditch. He was protecting me from the Nazi.
What are some of the stories you had back when you were in Poland?
There was a cow in the ghetto until the Nazi brought a cow into the ghetto and burned it. There was an imaginary horse named Greta that I never found. My Uncle Shepsel tried becoming a Lutheran so that the Nazi would let him out of the ghetto. Janina always wanted a pickled egg, so one day I smuggled a boiled egg and a pickle so I can cheer her up. I didn't really know what pickled eggs were, so I thought it was just an egg and a pickle.
What did you do after the trains took Janina and her family to the concentration camp?
I kept going down the train tracks, and eventually I went to sleep. I woke up with a man having his foot on my chest. He took me to his barn, where I stayed for 3 years until the war was over. I stole and sold the things I stole. Eventually I saved up enough money to get a ticket to go to America. There all I did was speak about what happened in the ghetto. I told them about everything. One day a woman named Vivian sat down and actually listened. She took me to her apartment where we played cards. We ended up getting married, but it only lasted 5 months. Years later I was bagging groceries and my daughter came to me with my granddaughter. Later I was bagging groceries with my granddaughter, asking me to pick a middle name for my granddaughter. I picked Janina. Her name was Wendy Janina. Now we have Yuri, a Jew that lived in a Nazi-controlled Poland.
How are you today, Yuri?
I'm doing good.
Misha told me that you took him in when you found him in an alleyway. What did you do when you found him?
I took him to the boys and then gave him a bath in the back of the barnyard. I washed inches of dirt off of him. I gave him a haircut in the barber shop.
Did Misha always have the name Misha?
No, he didn't know his real name when I found him. One day I gave him an identity. He was a gypsy named Misha Buskiski. His parents were killed in the bombing by the Germans. He had a horse named Greta.
Misha told me you shot him in the ear. Was this true?
Yes, I didn't want to kill him. I wanted the other Nazi to think that he was dead, so he would stay alive.
Now we have Yuri, a Jew that lived in a Nazi-controlled Poland.
How are you today, Yuri?
I'm doing good.
Misha told me that you took him when you found him in an alleyway. What did you do when you found him?
I took him to the boys and then I gave him a bath in the back of the barnyard. After washing an inch of dirt off of him, I gave him a haircut in the barber shop.
Did we know?
Now we have Yuri, a Jew that lived in a Nazi-controlled Poland.
How are you today, Yuri?
I'm doing good.
Misha told me that you took him in when you found him in an alleyway. What did you do when you found him?
I took him to the boys and then I gave him a bath in the back of the barnyard. After washing an inch of dirt off of him, I gave him a haircut in the barber shop.
Did Misha always have the name Misha?
No, he didn't know his real name when I found him. One day I gave him an identity. He was a gypsy named Misha Buskiski. His parents were killed in bombing by the Germans. He had a horse named Greta.
Misha told me you shot. Come on!